pretty from this lighting. I love that color so much.
Okay, you're good to go.
Huh?
You are good to go.
Okay. So we've talked about horizontal and vertical components of parametric equations. Now we're going to talk about arc length. So we know the horizontal and vertical components are x of t and y of t. Now we're going to use those to find out the length of a curve. So what is arc length? It's the idea of using infinitely small lines to define the length of a curve from point A to point B. And as you can see, it's derived from the distance formula. So you start out with the normal distance formula, x to the set x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared, and then you square root that. That can also be written as delta x squared minus delta y squared. And since we're using infinitely small lines, we add an integral. So that means we also have to add a dt, because that's our variable of integration. And you're going to do dx dt squared plus dy dt squared. So again, this is the derivative of your vertical component and your horizontal component. With that in mind, let's do some examples. Our first example says to find the arc length of these two components on the intervals 0 to 1. So you have x equals 2t squared and y equals 3t cubed. So if you go through and you find the derivatives, you get 4t and 9t squared, and all you have to do now is plug it into this formula. So you have your dx dt squared, your dy dt squared, and your integral from 0 to 1. And if you did this on a graphing calculator, you would get the answer 3.67. Now, in the second example, we're adding in some trig. So you're finding the arc length of these two components on the intervals 0 to 1. So you have x equals t sine of t and y equals t times cosine of t. If you found the derivative of these, which I wrote up there, so you found dx dt and dy dt, and plug it into the arc length formula from 0 to 1. So you have dx dt squared plus dy dt squared with the dt at the end, and the square root over that, and plug that also into a graphing calculator, you'll get 1.148.